Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube channel. And for those that haven't been around in a while, I haven't been around in a while either, both with some health concerns and with other concerns due to COVID and unrelated to COVID as well. Getting back in 2021 to recording content for you guys on a regular basis. Please like, subscribe, comment, and if there is something we can help with, please feel free to ask in the comments below, and we can usually do an audio. I'm thinking I can get audios recorded most days now that hard times are hopefully behind. This is going to be the most challenging year of my life, I have a feeling, but I'm good with that. This is signs of people who have been abused. There are many things that we need to know about abuse survivors, and one of them is that nearly half of our society has had at least one or more traumatic experiences that would border on abuse. And so the 6 signs I'm going to run through in this audio are just signs of, a person that has experienced abuse, whether it be chronic and complex or simple, singular, or very few experiences. The number of experiences is honestly irrelevant in the sense that every person internalizes them differently. So a person with one experience and a person with many can have some of the same symptoms, but at the same time, every person is different, every experience is different, every internalization is different, and therefore it's necessary to act with compassion and meet the needs of a person as an individual. So the first is low self-esteem. Abuse survivors are going to have an image of self that is negative and often very low. This isn't because they're unintelligent, but it's because the conditioning, both consciously and subconsciously, as it relates to where they've been as a victim, oftentimes will make them doubt themselves, their own judgment, their worth of love, their ability to be loved, their ability to find and give love in an appropriate way at which they can feel like it's reciprocal. And so that can be a very difficult thing. These individuals often will speak negatively about themselves, have repetitive negative thought patterns, and ultimately feel very stuck in their life experiences. The next is they'll have flashbacks. They may have auditory or visual flashbacks, not hallucinations, but be able to recall in great detail certain events in their life that were tragic or abusive. They also may speak a lot about previous events, especially when under pressure. The recall of memory in flashback mode can be triggered by sensory deprivation, in other words, stress, or also sensory overload. So hearing, seeing, sensing, smelling, things that would remind a person of those times in their life can send someone into a flashback. There are people that have flashbacks once or twice in certain situations, and there are people who are chronic abuse sufferers who survived who will have flashbacks several times in a given day or a given week. So each person is different, and it's important to have compassion for where they are on their recovery journey. The next is having difficulty focusing on a pathway. So an abuse survivor will second guess their decision-making ability in almost every situation. This can go into every area of life. Spiritually, who am I in relation to my higher power? Mentally, can I make good decisions? Is my decision maker broken? Is my picker broken? Relationally, the people in my life, do they mean me well? It's very difficult for abuse survivors to kind of figure out the intentions and motives of others as it relates to me grabbing my phone again. And we will be back right after this. And then, so as we step forward, we kind of have to consider the possibility that people are struggling with any number of things. Flashbacks can cause and lack of focus on a pathway can be extremely difficult. Lack of focus on a pathway can mean career. It can mean indecision as it relates to relationship. It can mean second guessing love or if they can be loved. It can mean almost getting to a place where I live somewhere for a little while. And I will honestly say, as a child abuse survivor myself, I have struggled with this, and I understand people who do, feeling like you're secure in your environment and then needing to change just because it becomes uncomfortable, just because it becomes almost too secure, and you're waiting for the shoe to drop. So that's a sign that someone has been abused if they never feel 100% secure in their environment, mentally, emotionally, or physically. The next is numbness, emotional numbness. So this is probably the easiest to detect if you know what you're looking for, but also the hardest to detect if a person is really good at faking their emotional awareness. What I mean by that is many people can pretend to be happy, pretend to be engaged, pretend to be satisfied with what's going on in their lives. They don't want to drag others down. They are afraid that people will not understand their situation, and so they will ultimately connect on a deeper level with some people at some times, but they won't necessarily. And again, many of the traumas related to dealing with traumatic experiences and abuse and all of these things ultimately come down to a person's inability to make emotional decisions or experience emotions in a way that many people would consider appropriate. Now, we could get into the debate that appropriate is a societal concept that really has no basis in reality because it's a social conformity, but for the majority of people, there are things that they experience that they would prefer not to if they've been through abuse, and also the emotional numbness that comes with never knowing when the other shoe is going to drop can be extremely difficult. This means that this will lead to the next thing, which is detachment. So even if a person is happy because they're waiting for the other shoe to drop, even in the best of situations, they will detach from ultimately any sort of long-term planning. They'll detach from believing that they can trust in a person, trust in a situation, or trust their own judgment. This active detachment is a form of self-protection, which ultimately is repeated again and again in almost every relationship because the ability to trust in people as a whole, as a species more accurately, has been damaged in some fundamental way. Many times this happens subconsciously first and then is a conscious choice after, usually after having partners who lie or friends who are dishonest, or a lot of it comes down to feelings of betrayal, and then the act of detachment becomes a sense of normalcy. If I'm never attached to somebody, then I can't get hurt, and that's the focus. The last one is over apologizing. This is one of the easiest signs to know that someone's either been abused or has had abuse triggers that have led them to, in some way, feel that they can't, trust their own instincts, their gut instincts, or trust the decisions they make not to be judged by others. So an over-apologizer is a person who believes that they are not worthy in and of themselves to have their own opinions unless they're in agreement with somebody else. And this inability to feel worthy will make a person, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And they're not really sorry as much as they are used to needing to apologize to assuage situations, perhaps raised voices, perhaps insults and other things. So if a person over apologizes a lot, chances are they've been through at least one or more abusive experiences that's taught them that apologizing is a way to avoid conflict, and this can be very traumatic and difficult to break, especially if it's an autonomic habit. In other words, they don't even realize how much they apologize. So hopefully this has been helpful for you. I encourage you again, we've got over 300 audios for you to check out. Please feel free to check out what works for you. Subscribe, like, share this on social media, and we're trying to get to 500 subscribers this year so we can give a little bit of money to charity. I know lots of charities that need it right now with COVID and people struggling, so if you could get a person to subscribe, that would be helpful too. Until next time, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment.